I want to talk about the effects of Pokemon scalping, what it does to the market and prices, and I want to carry this over into Journey Together and what I believe will happen based on evidence that I'm going to show you guys here. So, Surging Sparks was released just a few months ago, about 3 months ago, around here. On release day, Surging Sparks booster boxes were MSRP. At the time, that seemed pretty crazy because usually booster boxes for every single set released, they're not anywhere close to MSRP. Usually they're what, $100, $110. Usually they don't even go up to MSRP, but Surging Sparks was like the first Scarlet and Violet, main set booster box to do that. So everybody was talking about it, going crazy, saying this is overpriced. Obviously, now it seems like a dream to get, a Pokemon booster box at MSRP. But back then it was kind of abnormal. And people were calling it scalping and stuff. But I don't really think Surging Sparks was being scalped a ton compared to like Prismatic Evolutions. So I would say Surging Sparks was kind of a medium of natural demand and some scalpers, some flippers, right? Because if you were here on the release of Surging Sparks, the first week prices dropped from 160 to 150. But then after that first week, things quickly rebounded. You can't really tell here because the chart's like in 3 months, so it doesn't really show much, but it dipped from 160 to like 150 for like a week, and then it went quickly back up. And you can see here, this graph is pretty steadily going up. There's no massive dips or anything crazy because, like I said, there really wasn't that many scalpers. There were some flippers, 100%. Some people got their pre-orders for $100 a booster box. On release, it was like $150. Some people flipped to make like $20. It happened, but it wasn't extreme. And Surging Sparks arguably being like the best main set from Scarlet and Violet, I feel like, the price it was at wasn't crazy now thinking about it at the time that it was at, MSRP and then dropped to 150 at release. I don't think that was too expensive because it's under MSRP, and it was like and it had the Pikachu at the time was like $300-$400 on release. So I don't think it was that crazy, but this was definitely kind of the start of, I think, the scalpers or whatever you want to call them piquing their interest into Pokemon, seeing that a set, wow, you could have bought it for $100 and then it went to 160. Like, it seemed kind of crazy. But I think really it started with Prismatic Evolutions, with all the scalping. I think this one, this reached like national news, like everybody talking about, Prismatic Evolutions, even other countries, a lot of people just talking about the set. This is where the scalping really got heavy because you guys can see here this crazy price run up going all the way from $80, and you even go back further. You could have bought these at this time for, I remember, before anybody knew anything was in the set. You could have pre-ordered from GameStop. It wasn't crazy. Like, I made videos when there were still pre-orders available for MSRP. But, when people found out what was in the set, when we knew what was, coming out on the Japanese side with Terrestrial Festival, things went crazy. And this is when you could see the scalping happen, right? Because it peaked at 150, 3 times MSRP. You compare that with Surging Sparks, it only reached MSRP on release. So this is definitely where it started, right, with the scalping, reaching 150. But this is when the scalping started. The effects you can see here is pretty obvious. It got pumped up, right, on before it was released. But when it got released, things crashed. I've been talking about it. Look at this price crash from 150 and it dropped all the way to 100. This did not happen with Surging Sparks. Why? Because it wasn't heavily scalped. But Prismatic was heavily scalped. People flipping their pre-orders they got for retail, flipping them online. We have people going to stores, find them at retail, easily flipping them for, double, their cost. And that's why scalping, you can see here, prices tend to have these crashes because you have an abnormal amount of people buying, right? And then flipping back into the market and flooding the market. And that's why Prismatic Evolutions had this huge crash from 150 to 100 because on pre-orders and before the set was released, you didn't have all these people going into stores flipping product. But when the set came out and people were able to go in stores and buy them, you have this mass amount of supply and you see price crashes. Now, I'm bringing this up with scalping and how it affects the market, and I'm showing you guys with Prismatic Evolutions because I'm carrying this over into Journey Together. Now, I've told you guys my opinion about Journey Together. If you can find it, and you guys listen to what I'm saying here because some of you guys don't listen, if you can find it at MSRP or below, I would say that's a decent buy. Okay, I'm not telling you to buy at market price. I'm telling you if you can buy at MSRP or below, that's a good price, right? I bought mine for under MSRP. That's why I bought it. Would I buy at market price? No. Why? Because I feel this is a very similar scenario to Prismatic Evolutions. It's not as crazy as Prismatic Evolutions with, the hype around it, but to some extent in the market and people coming from Prismatic Evolutions, there's going to be scalpers for the set. More than Surging Sparks, less than Prismatic. But I still think the same ideology applies here, where this set, Journey Together, is going to be scalped. And I feel like you're seeing, what happened with Prismatic Evolutions. I feel like a similar thing is going to happen with Journey Together. It's not going to be as extreme as a drop as Prismatic because Prismatic went crazy. But in my opinion, there is going to be a drop. And that's just me being honest because people are seeing Prismatic. People are thinking they can flip. And, with Journey Together, people thinking they can flip are going to buy them at retail products and try to flip them. And I feel like with this set, some people are going to maybe get caught with a bag a little bit, maybe buying too much at retail, realizing they probably can't make much money. And I feel like a lot of the scalpers are going to just undercut each other. And we're going to have the same thing that happened with Prismatic Evolutions where prices did go down. And I'm thinking, Journey Together, that's going to happen. And that's why I'm not advising you guys to buy right now at the current market price for Journey Together, because I think even though this set isn't as hyped up as Prismatic Evolutions, I feel like there still is enough hype. There is now scalpers in this market of Pokemon where people are going to flip this. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen with prices, so that's why I would not buy now. I've given you guys my opinion. I think this product right here, the booster box, I feel like it could go MSRP or a little bit below when it gets released, maybe a week after. I feel like that's very possible with this set, especially seeing that there is a decent amount of people that maybe don't seem to care about the set, saying that it's mid. I'm thinking that can very well happen. So once again, I'm not advising you guys to buy at these prices because I'm not doing that. I'm not buying at market price for booster boxes. I've told you guys I bought under MSRP. That's why I bought. And if you guys can buy at those prices, MSRP or below, I would then recommend, because I think Journey Together is a good set. I've said it, this whole time I've been very neutral about Journey Together. I've only said, before that I didn't like the name. I still don't really like the name. I've said the booster box looks kind of like fake, but the set by itself, I've never hated on it because I think it's a pretty good set. I think it is a little bit overhated, and I feel like in time people will like it because when they see prices, this is a common thing in the space. When people see card prices, when people see set prices, their minds change. Happens all the time. It's happened with me. It happens all the time. It's understandable. I think Journey Together, there's going to be a few expensive cards in here, obvious ones, that are going to change people's minds. And I feel like when people see cards in person, they're going to change their minds. I think that's the same thing that happened with Surging Sparks. People hated on the Pikachu SIR. Some people saw it in person, said, wow, it's actually pretty nice. Saw some other cards, and people's opinion changed. Journey Together, I feel like, is going to be sort of that situation where people are going to change their minds. So that's why I'm telling you guys, MSRP or below, it's a decent buy. So that's what I wanted to explain here today. The effects of scalping. It just, the mass amount of supply on the market tends to drop prices, like we've seen with Prismatic. Journey Together, think there's going to be more scalpers than Surging Sparks, less than Prismatic. However, I think there will be enough people and scalpers to probably drop prices to, from where they're at right now. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know a little bit of a different one, but I wanted to show you guys why I do believe Journey Together is going to drop on release and why I would not buy at these current prices. So that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.